The button has been pressed. Hello, happy people. And today I have a very special guest, and it's my friend and an amazing person, Kateryna Portman. Hello, Kateryna.
Hello, Kateryna.
Long time, no?
Yes, long time no see.
It's funny how sometimes we just cross our paths everywhere in the world, and you're a very big traveler. So can you tell my audiences, where did we meet? How did it happen?
Last time or the first time?
No, the first. Let's start, chronologically from the first time.
Okay, so we met back in 2014 in Yerevan.
Armenia,
and that was really great experience. It was straight after I decided to make career change. I was working back in Ukraine in Ministry of Infrastructure, and then we had a very difficult situation, conflict, and I started my NGO. Wanted to help kids, and heard from our government officials that I'm not an expert in human rights to protect children. And I decided, okay, what should I do to become an expert in human rights? And I applied for Masters in Human Rights. That was from Central European University, but was taking place in Yerevan, and this is where we met.
Yeah, that was an incredible experience. I was also guided by similar kind of things because human rights has always been a big subject for me, something I have been very passionate about. And the mix of people we had there was very, very special because we had Armenians, we had Americans, Serbian, like Polish,
Ukrainian, Russians.
Yeah. And again, like I met Kateryna, and I'm from Russia, she's from Ukraine, but once again it just proves that all of this, guys, is politics. And I always say that the biggest thing that I value is always people. And
we had a lot of conflict resolution situation where I was representing, Europeans, and Kateryna was representing Ukraine, and somebody was representing United States. In Armenia they also have Karabakh area, and they really understand the situation, and it was great time, I would say. And after that we have seen each other in Dubai, in Spain, and now Switzerland.
How many countries did you live in?
So I would remember that during the past 10 years I've been in Emirates, Armenia, Georgia, Hong Kong, UK, and Switzerland.
And when you say I've been, you mean I lived there?
Yeah,
so
of course.
It was continuous.
It was work, education. Past 2 years in London. Before that, I was doing PhD in Hong Kong. We met in Armenia. I visited more than 50 countries, but I lived in 5 of them.
Wow, that's very impressive. You're not so old, but you've already been to so many countries. You really have seen the world. And now, by the way, we're in Zurich, if you didn't mention.
This is where I live right now.
Maybe you can tell, what do you do here in Zurich?
I'm working as product manager in neurorehabilitation robotics company. I have moved to digital health from fintech. They help people to walk again. So after spinal cord injury, brain injury, people with cerebral palsy and Parkinson's, we help them with robotic devices in the hospitals to be able to move again. My sister has some neurological condition. I have been in a car accident, and I've been patient myself for over 6 months, laying in the bed and understanding what people feel when they cannot walk. So we're giving them second chance to their life, and we help them to fulfill their dreams and move forward after the accidents.
That's so noble. I think this kind of jobs really matter and make a difference in the world, because I remember you had a situation where you couldn't walk, right?
That's true. I help and contribute and do impact every day. So this job brought me here, but in addition to that, I'm married to a Swiss guy. So it was really, really funny that I moved here before him. I moved in August and he moved just now in February, so I've been here 5 months.
Well, there is an expression that there are no coincidences, so everything happens for a reason, so that's your case.
I really enjoyed my jobs everywhere, but here I feel that this is dream job that I was not even able to imagine that something like that exists.
You were looking for a certain calling, from what I understand, and that's something that you can connect on a personal level, which is really great. Today we would like to discuss different tips for people who, like us, travel a lot. So how to adjust to living in a new country. As you can see, I have a real expert here, someone who really moved around a lot, traveled a lot. So what tips can you give to someone who really wants to live in a different country, but maybe they feel scared, maybe they're unsure if they should make this move? You were living in Kiev, right? and then you decided, even though you had, you know, rather stable job there, you decided that you want to move. What motivated you for that?
So I think for every person it's really different motivation. For me, I wanted to explore the world. Also, I felt back home that it's not safe and I would like to see new opportunities. In every country where I have been, I'm quite an extroverted person. So maybe for introvert, my tips would not work. So hopefully those who will listen to us will relate. I wanted to find people. Not in every country I have friends. For example, back in Yerevan, we didn't have many friends, but then we were studying there and it helped us to find like-minded people.
Isn't it the case that once you go to the country, you make friends with everyone else, all the other nationalities, but usually not with the locals, because the locals, they're so accustomed to know
true.
other, you know, they have their circle already there, and it's very hard to enter that circle.
It's difficult, but what I have done in Hong Kong, I started studying Cantonese. And that was quite challenging. They have 9 tones. It's not easy. It sounds funny. I cannot recognize some of the words. Here you want to say hi and you say a bad word instead, and person is becoming totally red in front of you. I was able to talk to local people, and local people really appreciate, because in that regards it's a dialect. So I was not studying Mandarin from China, I was studying Cantonese from Hong Kong. So the first tip I would say would be very important to understand how you can get into the community. And that could be your community of people from your country. Probably they have, I don't know, a cultural club or business club or something like that that you can connect. I was part of Swiss club back in Hong Kong and in London as well. That was cool because in the long run we were always thinking that we will be back to Switzerland because of my husband and his parents here. I get introduced to small Ukrainian community, and it helped that it was so small, because in London it was huge, thousands of people. To connect with so many people is not easy. But if it's 20, 30, 50 with one Ukrainian restaurant where you go for borscht and pampushki, or you sing Ukrainian songs.
You make me want to have borscht. Yes, no, but it's very true. I think it's very important to have your interest, something that you really like, whether it's running, I don't know, drawing, or
it's
sewing,
up to you. So it doesn't mean that it needs to be your language or something like that, but it's something that you can relate, where you can be either an expert or you can be curious about. It can be something totally new, but this is the first thing that helped me to connect with people.
That's a great tip. Moving to the second tip.
That it's quite important to learn the language. So slowly moving into that direction. I have here my friends from 6 years before, so straight after Armenia and Georgia, I moved to Hong Kong with stopover for 4 months in Switzerland. And that time I was preparing for my PhD, and it was just short break, so I couldn't find the job, and I decided to learn German. And from that moment I have still here friends from my German group that stayed here. They already here for a long time, and now when I'm coming back I can reconnect with them much easier. So that's really a great thing. And if you don't like languages, it can be dancing, it can be sport, it can be anything else. So it's.
But I think when it comes to living to a certain place, it's like you are still a guest. So it's a matter of like respecting the culture and like just trying. I think no one's gonna point at you and say, I don't know, you're saying that word incorrect. It's not about that. And then it's just showing that you are willing to adapt to this life here, right?
Yeah. What is also important, and I would say that this is already our third tip, is to understand what locals do, right? It's like in Rome, do like Romans do.
Yeah.
So the same in Switzerland, for example, in summer, people are going to Limmat and they have
this jumping into the water.
Like it's amazing. It's really cool. This like
that's so cool.
Unbelievable thing.
And
that
they have like special bags where you can put all your
I have
stuff,
that bag as well.
You can just basically like dive in there.
Yeah.
I did it once in
You
Basel.
can flow it. No? It's just
Yeah.
amazing. Another thing that here is happening is street parade, or they have buddies. It's kind of separated area of the lake.
Yeah.
Where you can go for a swim, and in summertime it's really amazing, and it's quite easy to connect with people there because we can also have their lunch or breakfast or dinner. It's tables that you are sharing, so to meet people there is quite easy.
Yeah, I think there are opportunities. It's just still about leaving your comfort zone, pushing yourself a little bit, and like you said, being extroverted person, it's probably easier.
Yeah, I would say it's easier.
But again, if you're an introvert who's watching our video, don't get discouraged. I'm sure those tips would be relevant somehow. And so tip number 4. You told me you have 5 tips, so keep watching until you hear all the tips from Kateryna.
Of course. So tip number 4 would be get a dog. So
or an animal. Maybe someone is allergic.
I think that there are dogs for hyperallergic people as well. I'm asking my friends who are going for a vacation to give me their dog, and then you connect with people in Spielplatz. It's a place where in Switzerland you play with your dogs.
Wow, it's so cool.
So you go there with your dog and you meet another people with the dogs.
Like a park, basically.
Yeah, it's like a park. You can train your dog there. I went there with Yorkshire Terrier, not very trainable, let's say, but still very cool and cute and nice. And this is also
stopping and having conversation.
Yeah, this is also the way to connect. So I think this is.
Oh my god, I really want a dog, so that's like the best.
Back in London it was the best also because they have an app called Borrow My Doggy, and you can register there. It includes insurance in case if something is happening. The dogs that I was borrowing from my neighbors were super well trained. I was able to take them to the office. They were listening to me.
I know there is one in Madrid as well, but I haven't done it.
Oh, it's fantastic. Really, it gives so much love and everything. If you cannot have your own dog, that's an option.
Yeah, wow. I didn't expect that tip coming, but that's also a funny one.
You see, unexpected.
Yeah, exactly. So, and what is our last tip?
So, last tip would be for people like me, it's very interesting not just to connect with people, but to connect with like-minded people. They traveled a lot, and if you will see among my friends and people that I like to spend time with are most of the people like that. And to find those people is not that easy. So what is really important, whenever I'm meeting someone back in Hong Kong or in London, I'm just sharing with them, guys, I moved to Switzerland. Maybe you can introduce me to someone. And I already got few of those introductions and people are just fantastic. One of the girls that I was introduced by my friend in Hong Kong is doing here space engineering.
Oh my god, that was so cool. So random, but
you have introduced me to Laura, who is also a really great friend, and we have met in London, and now she moved in Switzerland. It's not that easy among thousands of people to find yours, but this is kind of a shortcut that you can use.
Yeah, and usually if I build my circle like that as well, and if I have people that I really like, that are very, dreamers, ambitious, have some goals in life, usually their friends are just like that. And what's the worst that can happen? You meet someone, you don't have chemistry.
Yeah, if there is no match, it's also fine, but it's much more likelihood that it would be a match.
Yeah.
And I built here in 9 months amazing community. I also have a group in WhatsApp. We communicate with each other.
Join if you live in Zurich.
They really need each other even without me.
I'm part of the group. I post whatever. Sometimes I'm not
this
sure
would be posted there as well.
So people gonna watch it. Please comment under my video. And you're a very well connected girl on LinkedIn. I know you have how many? 35,000 connections. 35,000. That's crazy. And I know that it's not just random connections as well, that you put some thinking, some work into it. So can you tell me more about that?
Sure. This is not something that is coming as granted, right? I invested a lot of time. After I moved to Hong Kong, I realized that to find job is not that easy. You really need to have somebody who recommended you, and also you need to do a lot of networking in a new city where it's a lot of opportunity. You're trying to get recommendations, you're connecting to people, to key opinion leaders, to experts, to influencers, and slowly you're becoming one of them. If you share quality content, if you write articles, if you have particular topic, in my case is digital health and product management, you get that audience. And the most interesting thing that in Hong Kong, in London, in Zurich, I was able to find job through LinkedIn. I'm not using it for my friendship connections or something like that. If there are some people that would like to meet me or get my advice on something, I have no problem, and then we might become friends.
Yeah.
But this is professional network
Yeah,
where I
of course.
share a lot of content. I share my podcasts about product management. So it was very good decision to invest the time, but I still need to invest time almost daily to keep it up, because as any other social network and work that we are doing, it's not that you invest like they tell us in school, you invest first 10 years and then it goes automatically.
It's a constant
in LinkedIn, you need to keep doing it. You need to keep investing, but it's worth it.
And it's also about genuine interest, isn't it? Because if you just randomly add a bunch of people, that doesn't really work. But if you really look at the person's profile, you properly check it out, and then maybe you ask this person for an advice, because a lot of people love to share their opinions. And
you ask also for recommendation, for example. I think that my LinkedIn is the best CV I can get. I feel like continue doing it and investing even more time.
That's cool. I think that's a smart strategy. And one of my last questions would be about loneliness. As we all travel, I don't know how do you feel about it, but at certain point, like my family is still based in Russia, your family is still based in Ukraine. And even though you travel a lot to Ukraine, do you sometimes still feel lonely? And how do you overcome that?
I would say that I miss my parents. I would not say that I really feel lonely, and maybe in my case I'm quite privileged and lucky. I have my husband next to me. Of course, he's traveling a lot as well. That's fine. We spend some time together, sometimes separately. For me, distance doesn't matter. I feel that my family cares about me, loves me. My grandparents are calling me, my mom calling me, my dad is calling me, my sisters and friends. I would say that it's important to stay connected, and maybe even if we see each other not that often, like I was living back in Ukraine, we have quality time together, and it doesn't matter how much. If this quality time is happening twice per year, sometimes we see each other more often than twice per year, it's still good. So
yeah, that's a very good point. Just take the best out of the situation. Do what you can. Yeah, I can relate to that very much. So, thank you for watching. Hope you found our tips useful. Thank you, Kateryna, for your time, and stay tuned for more vlogs.
Thanks.
Our live audience. Live audience is in the studio.